testing finds triple-digit levels of weed killer chemicals in popular bread brands. And you can see the results and the toxin levels here. We are talking brands like Nature's Own and Dave's Killer Bread, Wonder Bread, Sara Lee, and Pepperidge Farms. It is significant even if you do not live in a rural area. If you are not a farmer or a landscaper, if you don't live or work near industrial plants, it is in our bread. It is in the bread that everyday Americans are buying for their kids. This is what Americans are ingesting on a daily basis. Bringing Alex Clark back up again. She just tested how much glyphosate is in her body, and the results are crazy. Here is my recent lab work showing how much glyphosate is in my body as somebody who eats all organic. This is a neurotoxin that Americans cannot escape from in our soil and our water. It does not wash off produce. It is a known carcinogen. What she is showing, and what Casey DeSantis in the state of Florida is showing, those are the impacts of these chemicals that these corporations want to hide from.
Concerning update regarding Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Lab tests confirm the presence of glyphosate, an industrial desiccant, in 91% of the brand's top-selling flavors.
This GMO scoop is borderline fake food. A Ben & Jerry's tub barely scrapes the 10% milk fat cutoff. The dairy comes from pesticide-fed herds pushing chemical residue straight into the fat. That's before it gets uglier. That dairy is stripped during processing. It can't hold itself together, so it's chemically glued with monodiglycerides, industrial emulsifiers shown to erode the gut's lining. Magnum, Cornetto, and Co. all flagged herbicide traces with additive saturation in exposure. Comment app to scan safer brands.
I grew up in Switzerland and no one believes me when I say the American food system is rigged. I used to eat pasta, pizza, everything, and live the most sedentary life in boarding school ever. And I was skinny and fit and I looked great. Okay, then I moved to America, become so active. I became a runner. I started eating like gluten-free. Like I literally counted my calories and I gained 30 pounds. It is not the European lifestyle, it is the food itself. Food in Europe is just nutritious. Like you'll eat pizza and it's actually nutritious for you because of the grains, but then you come here to America and you have flour and it's just literally bleach. You're eating bleach.
This may be one of the biggest food scams in the world. A pile of bones that nobody wanted can eventually end up on our plates. The bones are crushed under high pressure. A gray paste is squeezed out of the machine. Add just a little coloring, and it instantly turns into something that looks like meat. That paste is sent straight into sausage stuffing machines. The machines run at high speed. In just a few seconds, they produce sausages that are perfectly identical in size and shape. Because under industrial food standards, once protein is broken down and restructured, it can legally be classified as a meat product without distinguishing which part it actually came from. And this doesn't stop with sausages. Many cheap burgers people eat every day are made the same way. Manufacturers add a small amount of real beef, not much, just enough to improve the texture. Next, the mixture is pressed and reshaped into flat burger patties, all the same size. The key step isn't shaping when it's density control, so every bite feels as close as possible to real meat. Finally, the patties are packaged, boxed, and shipped to restaurants around the world. So here's the real question. Food made from ultra-cheap raw materials like this, for most people, is it a good thing or a bad thing?
Food is poisoned. You go to Italy, you eat pizza, pasta, and ice cream, and you lose weight. I've been talking about this for years, and it's like, oh, what are you, conspiracy theorist? You're not a doctor, you're not a scientist, wear your sunscreen type of thing. And now people are waking up to this. You got Santa Cruz Medicinals, Kyle at the Clean Kitchen, reading ingredients. Like, people are aware. Food Babe's been talking about this for 2 decades. People are aware now, and the solutions are out there. The dollars are there as we transition from basically commercial propaganda poison into this great awakening that we're headed to. I see this as a huge catalyst.
I would never touch an inorganic fruit because fruits absorb pesticides and herbicides and insecticides through their skin. There was a recent study published about inorganic strawberries where they actually took inorganic strawberries from the supermarket, brought them home, put them in a commercial press, pressed the juice out of them, and there was so much pesticide in the juice they were able to take that juice and respray the crop.
Whoa, that's nasty.
And still have the same level of pesticide protection from the juice that was squeezed from inorganic.
So I asked Gary to cite his source to verify whether what he said was true. Time school. And lo and behold, he cites this blog, which doesn't even use the correct acronym for the Environmental Working Group. What on earth is the EMG? And the entire blog only cites one study on Chinese farmers applying pesticides to their crops. I'm sorry, what have Chinese farmers spraying crops got anything to do with you in the US consuming fruits? And this make-believe study about strawberries containing so much pesticide that you can juice them and respray the crop is simply ridiculous. This is who you're taking health advice from, really. Biohacker in the bio. And just to make it clear, organic fruits are not pesticide free. They simply use pesticides from natural sources, which tells us precisely nothing about whether they're less toxic. In reality, these natural pesticides have far less data on their safety. But let's be real here, the pesticide data program actually shows that over 99% of the samples tested had pesticide residues below the EPA's allowable level. And the allowable level is safe by a factor of 100, meaning it's 100 times smaller than the amount required for a negative health effect. Just eat your fruit and veg. Class dismissed.
Stop paying for poison. 90% of the foods in the grocery store didn't even exist 100 years ago. And neither did 90% of the diseases we're dealing with today. Coincidence? I think not. We are living in the most toxic world in history, and the grocery store is the epitome of it. These shelves, they're not selling food, they're selling disease. Even what looks like food is filled with pesticides and toxic additives. We broke a perfect, harmonious system, and we had it over a century ago, where 70% of the food was locally grown or sourced. Now, it's all flipped for convenience and profit, and it's breaking us. If you're serious about changing your life, it starts with being mindful about your food. Get to know your local health food store, your local farmers. Buy organic whenever possible. Don't be afraid to dissect every single ingredient in that grocery store either, like the weird guy, like me, in the grocery store. Because either you pay the farmer now or you pay the doctor later.
Americans did not get obese because they're indolent or lazy or they don't want to do exercise. They got that way because they're being mass poisoned. And they're being mass poisoned because the government lied to them, and it lied about the food. 70% of the food that our kids eat is ultra-processed food, and it's just poison. It's not food, it's just poison.
Why do they sell Americans the shittier, less safe version here? They make a Canadian version of Fruit Loops that they undoubtedly produce in this country, in the US. They already make it, and they already have the formulation for it here, and they ship it up to Canada, and yet the one that they sell here has red 40, yellow 5, yellow 6, blue 1, and BHT. All of those ingredients are not included in their international version of Fruit Loops. Yeah. And when people say like, okay, so they know how to make the better version, they're already making it, they're already selling the better version. Right. Why do they sell Americans the shittier, less safe version here? There's two reasons. The first reason, which is obvious, is it's a little more expensive to use natural food colorings than it is to use artificial food dyes that are derived from petroleum.
Like blueberry juice, watermelon juice.
The second reason, they've acknowledged that natural food colorings are less bright. And when they're less bright, they're less attractive to children.
So I'm at Target shopping for yogurts, and I look at this yogurt, listen to these ingredients. Non-fat milk, cultured pasteurized milk, whey protein, non-fat milk, contains 2% of sunflower oil, which is a seed oil, erythritol, carrageenan, sucralose, and natural flavor, which is actually not natural at all. Everything is poison. Don't buy that.
What makes something Gabby approved?
No artificial sweeteners, no artificial flavors, no emulsifiers, no seed oils, no gums, and everything needs to be natural. And it cannot be sprayed with glyphosate, a toxic herbicide. No, if it's got modified food starch or cornstarch or maltodextrin or these additives that are just going to cause polycystic ovarian syndrome, symptoms of diabetes can lead you to having diabetes. If it's got agave or high fructose in it or fructose, crystalline fructose, all those things. I don't have a full list. Do you know what the list is? Pointing in my head. It's the consistent ingestion over many, 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 many years of these products that are consistently in our diet. That's where you have these long-term effects.
One of your favorite ingredients that I hear about often, Splenda.
Splenda, sucralose.
When you developed Glow, was that the first?
The first no-no?
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah. Because every protein powder has it, and every protein bar has it. Well, not every. I say that flippantly. It's, the majority of them have it. And if they don't have it, they have acesulfame potassium, or they have something else in it. They have artificial sweeteners. And then the study in 25 that came out in March, it makes you hungry. It creates more hunger cravings because it drives that cephalic insulin response. It drives the brain to want and crave more food later on. Glow is my brand, and it's a Gabby-approved product, of course, because I made it.
You didn't just create something and put your name on something.
No.
You created something and you did it right.
This is my favorite hack for removing pesticides from fruit and veg. As it turns out, a 2017 study from the University of Massachusetts found that soaking your produce for 15 minutes in a 1% solution of baking soda
reduced pesticides on the surface of the produce by 99%.
So all you need is about 2 teaspoons of baking soda per litre of water.
And then 15 minutes later, you just drain and rinse, and that's it.
This is day 1 of eating Indian street food until I get food poisoning. The most common message I received on my arrival to India was to watch out for the street food because I was going to get sick. But what you all fail to realize is the fact that I am built different, because over the last 10 years of constant travel, I have never had food poisoning, and I wasn't about to let my 10-year record be broken by a little bit of deli belly. I say this about everything I eat in India, but that is delicious. And after 2 weeks of eating every single possible street food I can find, I can confidently say that India's got some of the best food on earth, and I think my gut health needs to be studied because after all of these years, I am still going strong.
These pesticides every single day that you don't wash your fruit properly. Here's how to wash them. Put your fruit into a bowl and add a tablespoon of baking soda. Add in some filtered water, then let it soak for 20 to 30 minutes. Once you drain it, you'll see some crazy colors coming off your produce. Pesticides are designed to withstand rain, so washing them quickly in the sink does not do anything. You are eating this every single day you don't wash your produce. Lastly, give it a rinse one last time and you now have some clean fruit.
The following 10 foods have been selling in the United States for many years, but are banned in other countries across the world because they include certain dyes, pesticides, preservatives, and flavorants. Number 1, Twinkies. Number 2, Mountain Dew. Number 3, Fruit Loops. Number 4, Coffee Mate Creamer. Number 5, Stovetop Dressing. Number 6, Skittles Candy. Number 7, Wheat Thins Crackers. Number 8 is Gatorade. Number 9 is Pop-Tarts, or what I like to call Poop Tarts. And finally, number 10 is Ritz Crackers. Now, I am quite sure that there are lots of other foods that have these harmful dyes, preservatives, and pesticides in them, but I just wanted to give you some of the most common ones. So if you happen to find some of these in your kitchen or house, I would definitely throw them away immediately, because there's a reason why that they've been banned in other countries. Now, in my next video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about the top 5 foods that you can consume to optimize your brain and your body. So follow me now.
When people say our food is making us sick, that is literally what that means. I'm an engineer on a mission to decode metabolic health issues, what the data actually says. Let's talk about trans fats. For decades they were everywhere. Margarines, donuts, even the so-called heart-healthy foods. The food industry loved them because they had great shelf lives and they tasted good. But behind the scenes, scientists were sounding alarms. Biochemist Mary Enig warned us that trans fats can disrupt insulin receptors, the very gateways your cells use to regulate your blood sugar. And that disruption leads to insulin dysfunction and even type 2 diabetes. So when someone says trans fats are dangerous, they're not just talking about cholesterol, they're talking about metabolic sabotage. So this isn't just about junk food, folks. It's about how everyday ingredients can quietly hijack your health. Drop a brain in the comments if this flipped your perspective, and follow for more metabolic truth.
I totally disagree. I think food is the root of the problem in the US, and hear me out. Have you ever seen Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Like, in order to get to self-actualization, you have to get out of survival mode. But Americans are constantly being poisoned by their food and water, which causes us to be sick. Now we're in survival mode because we're sick and we have a for-profit healthcare system. When you're sick, you can't fight back against your oppressor. And I don't even think many Americans would consider themselves oppressed. I think they would actually consider themselves the opposite. If you look at the statistics compared to other first world countries, we have recently gone backwards when it comes to life expectancy, and we have the lowest life expectancy out of all developed nations. And you guys are going to think I'm crazy, but I don't think our government is too worried about it because it keeps us controlled. Like, you look at France, for example. They're having protests in the street for weeks after they change the retirement age. Americans can't do that because we're too busy trying to survive. And step 1 of getting out of survival mode is literally making your body healthy. But you can't do that if your environment is constantly poisoning you. So that's my take.
So I've been learning about histamines, and essentially, if you know what an antihistamine is, it's like an anti-allergic reaction. A histamine is what causes an allergic reaction. And food can be high in histamines, and it can also be histamine freeing. Essentially, the fresher the food, the lower it is in histamines. The more processed
the food is, the higher it is in histamines, especially the more aged. So aged food is really high in histamines. But there are other benefits that aged food can have, you know, so it's okay to have it in moderation, like when you think about kimchi or wine or cheese. But then there's like processed food, like canned food or processed meat, that's high in histamine but doesn't really have any benefits. So even leftovers can develop histamines, so it's really important if you have leftover food to freeze it and then thaw it out in some warm water when you want to cook it. It's actually a lot better, a lot healthier than refrigerating it, which I didn't know